Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, Honorable 𝐎𝐍𝐄 𝐘𝐄𝐀, had an uphill climb when she assumed office in August 2020. The business community and the tourism sector were buckling under the crushing pressure of the COVID-19 pandemic, a bureaucratic business environment, and burdensome tax measures instituted by the APNU-AFC coalition. To foster a friendly environment for businesses to rebound, the PPPC government quickly fulfilled several of its manifesto promises. The PPPC government promised to establish and sustain funds which would stimulate innovation and assist new businesses. As it took up office, it increased the allocation under the Small Business Development Fund, maintained the Green Tech Fund, and launched another, the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Fund, targeting young and upcoming entrepreneurs. $250 million was allocated in Budget 2021 to replenish the Small Business Development Fund, which under the APNU-AFC was a paltry $100 million. Under this fund, the small business grant ceiling was more than doubled.
Small businesses can once again receive up to $500,000 in grant funding from the Small Business Development Fund to expand their operations or assist with startups. But Mr. Speaker, restoring the ceiling is not the only thing we have done for small businesses. We have also, through the allocations in this budget, increased the total envelope available to $250 million, thereby expanding the amount of support for that sector.
In January 2021, the Small Business Bureau granted 20 persons $1 million each through its Green Tech Fund for existing and startup businesses that are based on technology and the environment. Then, in July, the Bureau gave another 12 persons $1 million each in disbursements. They were urged to expand their businesses to increase employment and economic growth in Guyana.
The ministry and the government is very committed towards your development. We're here as your partners. Minister Wallen has said countless times that the private sector and you in the room who have businesses, innovative ideas, are our partners in development.
𝐎𝐍𝐄 is a recipient of the grant. She sought to develop a learning app for children which does not require internet access.
We're going to actually try to take concepts from school and convert it into a more interactive self-learning system. We're trying to help children to learn independently because during this time, this COVID time, many children do not have assistance from teacher directly. So, we're teaching them to be more independent learners.
Cherry Ann Green, founder of Ride Along GY, a bicycle rental and tour company, hopes her business will lead to reduce harmful emissions.
My aim is to, as much as possible, do my part to reduce the carbon emission footprint or greenhouse gases that has far-ranging environmental and health effects by promoting more pedal cycling in and around Georgetown. I also aim to collaborate with other small businesses like myself to promote health and fitness and tourism within Guyana.
Rupesh Ganpat conceptualized and received funding for Easy Loans, an application which provides guidance to persons who are applying for loan financing at commercial banks.
The application is going to allow you to basically put in the pertinent information and guide you along if you're going to qualify, and then also I'm looking to network with the banks as well, so they can actually take another step and guide the individual.
Aside from the Green Tech Fund, Minister Wallen also announced the new Entrepreneurship and Innovation Fund for budding young entrepreneurs as a means of creating and encouraging a new cadre while simultaneously creating jobs and stimulating the local economy.
We are saying to you as a government, we will support the research and development for those ideas, because some ideas will take further research. So when you come, the Entrepreneurship and Development Program, the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, we're going to look at your idea, fund research and development, fund technical advice for you to be able to bring this idea into implementation and possibly into a full-blown business where you're able to be able to monetize.
As it invests in creating and stimulating small businesses, the government has taken tangible actions to make competition fairer. The National Assembly passed a Small Business Amendment Bill in February, thereby paving the way for small businesses to compete on a more level playing field. It allows for 20% of all state contracts to be awarded to small businesses. This is part of the government's plan to foster a culture of entrepreneurship at all levels, so more Guyanese can take advantage of the multiplying opportunities in Guyana.
For a long time, the conventional path, particularly for our young people, has been to go to school and to get a good education and then to get a good job. And that's, of course, a very good path. It's a path that many of us have traveled. But increasingly in today's world, we see the remarkable opportunities of entrepreneurship, and we see the remarkable contributions that entrepreneurship can make.
In addition to leveling the playing field for small businesses providing goods and services, the amendments to the Act also pave the way for small construction companies to be included and considered small businesses. Interventions were also made to incentivize investments into the hospitality industry, given Guyana's growing tourism potential and the already overwhelming demand for accommodation and other hospitality services. As part of creating an enabling environment, the government promised to ensure that appropriate tax incentives are given to investors. In fulfillment of its commitment on this front, requests have poured in, with the first MOU being signed in November 2020 for the construction of a US $90 million Hilton Hotel, slated for Houston on the east bank of Demerara.
This is the first MOU that we have signed based on the request for proposal that the ministry had advertised. We had an overwhelming response, and this is just the tangible expression of the confidence that investors have placed in Guyana, and we're quite excited that we have one of the hotels that we have promised, one of the branded hotels, ready to go, and this is quite an exciting time. Congratulations.
By July, the sod was turned for the Courtyard Marriott at Temeri. U.S. Ambassador to Guyana Sarah Ann Lynch said that 8 other hotels are expected to come on stream in the coming years as a demonstration of the confidence investors have in Guyana.
I am truly honored to be here today to break ground on a new U.S. branded hotel in Guyana. Today's event is but one in a series of large projects making Guyana's steady economic transformation. The Courtyard Marriott we will be breaking ground on today is one of a growing number of international investments in Guyana, signaling great confidence in the future of the economy here. And that future is indeed very bright.
Senior Minister within the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh has lauded these investments, saying they will result in job creation and tremendous growth within Guyana's economy.
These initial incoming investments will add an additional 1,000 hotel rooms in the near term, and the others potentially could add a total of 2,000 to 3,000 hotel rooms in the medium term, catalyzing the development of the accommodation subsector and dramatically improving overall industry standards.
With investors streaming in to capitalize on Guyana's booming oil and gas sector, demand has increased for tourism and hospitality services. To address this glaring mismatch between demand and supply, in 2021, work will commence on the construction of the Hospitality Tourism Training Institute. This institute will help to equip locals to lead the tourism and hospitality industry, thereby providing jobs for thousands.
More than 30 million has been allocated in Budget 2020 for training within the tourism sector. This will better position us to keep abreast with evolving trends within the sector and ensure that we meet the increasing expectation of our guests. In this regard, sir, I would mention that this budget 2021 provides an allocation of $185 million for the establishment of a tourism and hospitality institute, which will provide much needed instruction to persons who wish to pursue a career in the industry.
As these investments ramp up, so will the need for fast, efficient, and reliable ways of doing business. To ensure this, the government has invested in improving the ease of doing business by allocating $135 million for the procurement of an electronic single-window system. This will ensure businesses are not subjected to time-consuming bureaucratic systems as they seek to be compliant with Guyana's laws and regulations. With new investments and a growing economy comes the need for greater connectivity and ICT infrastructure. A mere 2 months after taking office, the government in October 2020 issued commencement orders, fully bringing into force the Telecommunications Act 2016 and the Public Utilities Commissions Act. The orders align Guyana's telecommunications regime to those found in other countries and the world over, and is meant to create an environment for operators to provide faster, better, and more affordable internet services.
The telecommunications sector in Guyana is effectively liberalized, and the sector is open for investment.
Later, in February, the government signed an exemption order to expedite the licensing process for small internet providers.
Today, I have signed an exemption order, and that is linked towards the 50-odd local small internet service providers. And what an exemption order will do is to, prevent them from having to go through a long process to be granted a license. Okay, so they are exempted from that, and they just have to register and pay what necessary fees associated with them being registered as a service.
Managing Director of eNetworks, Vishuk Prasad, believes the move by the government will not only create a level playing field for operators, but will allow Guyanese businesses to shine.
We've got a good product suite. It's just now to get it to the consumer at the right price, and that's what liberalization is going to do. It's going to create a competitive environment, and it's going to allow the consumer to ultimately be the beneficiary of that.
This move by the government was also welcomed by long-standing stakeholders within the telecom sector, like GTT and Digicel.
Well, we've been competing with both eNetworks and Digicel for almost a decade, actually more than a decade. So I think this is a wonderful thing for the customers. I think it's a bright future for the people of Guyana.
I think immediately you will see increased competition on things like international calling. We will see immediate competition. I think you'd see increased competition on data services, on mobile data services. I think all parties will be making improvements and putting LTE in wider communities, and then also there'll be moves to address the remote areas, and then also competition on the long term in terms of residential services as well, including internet. So, the opening of the sector will also possibly bring other entrants into the market as well.
To further boost the sector, the administration also removed a value-added tax on cell phones and data for residential and individual use. VAT was also removed on hinterland travel, spurring an increase in activity to some of Guyana's world-renowned tourist attractions like 𝐎𝐍𝐄 National Park and the Irokrama Center for Rainforest Conservation in Region 9. It also dedicated resources towards ensuring tour operators were ready for the reopening of the sector in the latter months of 2020. In October, more than 20 city tour guides benefited from training exercises to prepare them for the sector's reopening.
I'm the person conducting the city tour guides training for the GTA today, and this is important because we need to ensure that the persons who are out there are properly equipped to change the mindset of persons when they come to Guyana and to help them have the best possible experience possible when they're on tour, not just on the Georgetown City tour, but in Guyana in general.
The training has been very helpful so far. I must commend the ministry on a fantastic job that they've done in the training and in the general aspects of making us ambassadors of tourism in Guyana.
But this time, during COVID time, we're actually given the opportunity to train better, to be better tourism ambassadors, as you want to call it, to what Guyana Tourism is doing, giving us the opportunity to learn so much from them and the pioneers that have been about a long time.
In addition to providing training, the Guyana Tourism Authority reviewed the COVID-19 protocols employed by scores of interior lodges and resorts, tour operators, accommodation establishments, restaurants and bars before permitting them to reopen.
We were not daunted by the magnitude of the pandemic. Being cognizant of the fact that thousands of Guyanese and their families depend on this sector for their well-being, our administration was proactive. 6 months later, I can state categorically that Guyana's tourism is on the road to recovery and undoubtedly will make a full recovery in time to come.
To boost job creation in the rural areas, the tourism minister also signed a memorandum of understanding with Arrowhead Communications, paving the way for the operation of the Tushin call center located in Region 3. The call center will employ 150 people in that region. In just 1 year, the PPPC government has delivered on its promises within the tourism and hospitality sectors.